Hi everyone. Hello, welcome. It's Haley from the Black Ribbon today here with Jordana from the Mossbadger. The Mossbadger. Mossbadger.
The Mossbadger.
The Mossbadger. Welcome everyone. I want to give everyone a few minutes to come in and join us. I'm very excited to be here. This is the first time I'm doing a interview on this side of the chair. So bear with me if I goof up a little bit. Fingers crossed it goes smoothly. Hello, Alice, Tana. I'm just gonna do the Queen's wave. Well, I love your spooky background. That's so great. I was like, I gotta go goth.
It's my Halloween decorations. I never took them down. I got like a tiny black Christmas tree so that I could have an excuse to leave them up, and then they they live there now.
I love to hear.
Because mattress is up there.
Mattress.
There's mattress, and there's I got mattress a goth girlfriend.
Oh.
And then there's a mattress's evil twin.
Oh.
And then
is it Pillow or something? What is his name?
I haven't named the other one yet. And then they have a baby. They have two babies. There's another one up there. I don't know.
Oh my god, this is amazing. Quality time with the Froggos. Are they toads?
I don't know because I think it either says, I think they're toads, but I think it says on the tag they're frog. Because the reason why mattress is named mattress is because he's foam and he's like stuffed. So he has one of those tags, the like do not remove consumer tags. That's why his name is mattress.
Oh, that's funny. I like it.
But I think people call them the Michael's frogs, but like I feel like they're toads, but whatever.
Whatever. I mean,
frog and toad are friends.
Like frog is a generic term for a toad and or frog-like situation.
I think it's fine.
Yeah. All right. It's okay. We love both. Yes, absolutely. It's true. These are important things to note. We do love all amphibians here. We also love newts and salamanders. So, Jordana, let me grab my questions. I'm ready to. Toads are frogs. Oh, shoot. Well, there you go. So it is a generic frog art situation.
So it's like squares versus rectangles?
Yeah, it sounds like it. That's crazy. Unlike, crabs, which just everything turns into crabs. All crustaceans become crabs. Jordana, let's start talking a little bit about your brand and your history with Lolita fashion. My first, of course, ever important question is, how did you discover Lolita fashion?
Okay, so this is kind of a long story.
But
I feel like it's not how a lot of people got into Lolita, so maybe it's interesting. I don't know. So I found my first Gothic and Lolita Bible because I liked to buy Japanese fashion magazines, but I was buying like Cutie and Cura. It was still called Kerouac because I'm really old and this was a really long time ago. So I found those because I used to buy British music magazines because I was really into oh no, what's his name? Never Gonna Give You Up guy. What is his name?
Rick Roll.
Yeah.
I can't name it. Like Rick Astley.
Yes, I was really into Rick Astley for like 5 minutes in like middle school.
It's fine.
I think it was in middle school. So then I started buying British music magazines, which through that I found like the Smiths and like the Cure and like possibly I will stand by him being good music. But anyway, I'm already digressing the first question and I'm already like off the subject. Anyway, I used to go to Tower Records and buy Japanese fashion magazines, which is how I found the Gothic and Lolita Bible in like maybe like when did it come out? Like 2002 or something?
And I thought that's a Simone question.
Yeah. And I was like, this is really cool. I will never wear this, but it's really cool to look at, right? And so I knew of it, but I never thought I would wear it. So then fast forward to maybe like 2006 or 7, I was really into Blythe dolls. And I have a friend who makes exquisite Blythe doll clothes. His brand name is Poupée Mécanique, like in French. Look that up. It's good. You'll be like, how is he making? And they're tiny. They're like Barbie size. So you're going to be like, how? And I don't know. I wish I could sew that well, that tiny. Anyway, he was participating in a contest in Japan for Blythedall. So he went to Japan, and he was really into Vivienne Westwood, as am I. But while he was in Japan, the judges for that contest were Kumiko Uehara from Baby, like the designer of the bears.
Yeah,
Usakumias, yeah. And also Novala. And so he's just like hanging out with them in these photos, and they're all wearing like, Novala is wearing Vivienne Westwood, and he's wearing Vivienne Westwood, and then Kumiko's wearing Baby. And I just really wanted an excuse to wear rocking horse shoes. And I was like, oh, I guess if I get like cheap, crappy eBay rocking horse shoes, because I was not ready for real ones yet at that time, then I guess I'm going to just start wearing Lolita.
Why not?
That's why I started wearing Lolita, which is kind of like a very silly story. But Kumiko came to a convention here, and I got to tell her that story, and she remembered my friend because he's very memorable. And like I started to like tear up because I'm a Pisces and I always cry. And she just said, "Don't cry." She was very nice to me after that. I think she was touched by my weird story.
Oh, it's a good story. That's not that weird. I mean, I found it through like a gothic auction site that's now defunct. So, we all have like interesting, weird stories for like our path to the Lolitadom that we now live in.
Yeah.
So funny. So the other question that we always get asked as designers is how did you learn to sew?
Which is also a dumb story. Because I can't really say there was one point where like I officially learned to sew, because I just struggle bust for like so many years. At some point in college, I took the one sewing class they offered, which was in the theater department. And was mainly, we ended up like, we learned some basic stitches, and then we ended up like doing repairs on their costumes, like
free labor.
Yeah. But I remember like at that point I was really into this, like I just really wanted to be like a club kid, which I was not cool enough to do any of that stuff. But
cool,
I just
Jordana.
Thank you. I mean, I think I'm cooler now, but like I was not for that. And I have been cool at some points in my life, but at that moment I was not cool. But I made a lot of things out of like stretch vinyl.
Nice.
And like velvet and like fake fur.
You're picking the hard ones.
Exactly. I was terrible, and it was horrible. And then like later on I got into quilting, and I was like, oh, cotton that just sits there and doesn't move around and doesn't stretch out while you sew it, and it doesn't get stuck to the machine. Like this is actually, why didn't I learn? So if I had done it right, I would have probably learned to quilt or learned like that kind of sewing before I learned like this terrible half-assed garment making with like the worst possible fabrics. So yeah.
I actually wanted to ask you about your quilting because you've definitely, like, when I have to do quilts, I'm always like I must show and ask questions to Jordana, because you're the only other person I know who does quilting, and I hate it. I know you are really good at it, and I think you've competed in a few competitions.
I've been in some shows, but not like actual competitions. I'm in a guild. I'm in a modern quilt guild.
That's sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We do some charity projects, and we just get together. I mean, in the now times, I'm probably literally missing the quilt meeting like right now, because I haven't been in it for a little while. I've been kind of checked out of it. But it's virtual right now, obviously. But one of the things I really like about the guild is that they encourage you to do show and tell, and it doesn't have to be a quilt. It could just be like whatever you're like proud of. So I've brought like Lolita to the guild before and been like, I make these weird dresses. But yeah, it's I started quilting because I guess this is also because of the Blythe dolls, because I was really into, so in the 1930s there were a lot of small scale novelty prints for quilting, and sometimes you could buy like, they call them feed sacks, because you could buy like feed, like animal feed, and they would come in fabric bags, and they started printing the fabric bags to be nice patterns because it was the Depression and people were reusing them.
Yep.
So I started collecting the reproductions of those fabrics because it was kind of a genre of quilt fabric, but it worked really well for the little doll dresses.
Oh, smart.
But then I was like, I mean, I guess I could make a quilt with these, which is like what they're for. And then I just kind of like fell into quilting through that.
That's fair. Yeah, I always just get like people be like, "Can you make me a baby quilt?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you think that's like a 5-minute project? I hate
No.
you." Like it's so crazy.
And like the quilting part of it is not the part I like. I mean, if we're going to be really honest, the part I like is when you buy fabric.
Oh God, right? That is the
Like,
best part.
I'm going to pretend like, so this is framed so that you see this like nicely decorated part of my apartment and you don't see the mess. But like, if I just lean off to the side, there is just a pile. Actually, I literally have my quilts, like some of my quilts right here.
Oh,
So
yeah, show us
why
your
don't I
quilt,
show them to you? Because
please.
like my quilting, the thing that I kind of ended up getting into for quilting is sort of a little specific. It's a little bit hard to explain. Okay, so I've been making these really small quilts because then I actually finish them. So they're just wall hangings. So if I could get this close enough to the camera, if you can kind of see that some of these fabrics are like, it's this grayish blue, but there's like a white print.
Mm-hmm.
So the white fabric with white print is the fabric and all that bluish gray is dye.
Okay.
So I make patchwork and then I screen print it with dye.
Oh, that's so cool.
So like this one, all the
Oh my
like
gosh,
orange
love
and
that.
yellow is dye and everything
Those
else is the
colors are
fabric.
great. I love those colors.
Thanks. So that gives you, that's like kind of my quilting
Make
genre, I
like
guess.
placemats, so they're like small.
Yeah, at my desk I have a little tiny one that's basically a coaster.
Perfect. Yes,
A
that's
mug
really
rug.
that's fun. Oh, mug
Yeah.
rug.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Perfect. It's so cute.
Yeah, but like I just started, I have tons of those blocks already because I make the patchwork and then I screen print them and then I put them in the quilt. So I get really obsessive with especially anything like craft related, like sewing or when I make earrings. I just get kind of into the mode of just repeating the process because it's the only time I can get my brain to quiet down.
In the zone.
Yeah. So I just end up overdoing it. So I have piles of those like squares with the diamonds printed on them, and I'm just like, why do I have like 9,000 of these?
Because reasons. Yeah. Mental health reasons. I need to do this.
Yeah.
Let me do it.
Yeah.
Speaking of like the dyeing, the screen printing, if I remember correctly, that is kind of how you got into being a Lolita designer from back when I remember we first met. Ironically, kind of in a platform like this with Tiny Chat, back in the EGL live journal days, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I know that you were like, oh, I don't think I could ever sew my, like, have a brand where I sew things. But she's like, you would always make these really cool screen print prints for yourself for your own use. And they were so neat. Can you talk a little bit more about how you got into that?
Yeah, I think that like my secret is I kind of hate sewing on some level. Like if I could just fast forward through the sewing part and get to the end result, I would be like, which is why, I generally pay other people to do the sewing if I can afford it. But I really like the design of the fabric. Like I just love fabric. This all boils down to me I just like fabric, which is why I have a giant pile of fabric right here. But I wanted to design the print on the fabric or the print on the dress. And so like I was into silk screening because part of the reason I started silk screening the quilts is because I just liked silk screening and I just wanted to do more silk screening. And I said, can you silk screen a quilt? And they were like, no. And I was like, don't see, if you tell me no, then I have to just do
that
it.
means it's time for a challenge.
Yeah, I just get very spiteful. Like I actually, this is still on subject, even though it sounds like I'm doing another tangent. I promise I'm not. I'm pretty sure one of my Facebook memories today was me in like 2012 complaining about yet another Juliette Justine painting dress that I couldn't fit into and how like, I'm going to just make my own painting dresses. I'm just going to figure it out. And I think that was the point at which I switched from I'm just going to silk screen the fabric to like, I'm going to get like a way to print digitally so I could put a painting on a dress and wear it. Because again, spite, like, don't tell me I can't have something. I'm going to make it myself. So, yeah, I haven't done any silk screening in a little while because I can't really do it easily in my apartment. and I haven't been going to the art center because, you know, we're in a Panda Express. So I, yeah, and I have a lot of fabric that I printed and then never made anything with because another, like I said, I overdo it and then I don't finish things. So like,
That's the mood. I have my problem is I love to buy fabric and then I'm like,
I also love to buy fabric.
yeah. The worst is though, like I have these like wholesale people bring like samples to me and they're like, would you like to buy bolts? And I'm like, oh yeah, it seems like a great idea because I'll totally finish the bolts that you got me last time.
Yeah.
By the time this shows up, I'm not allowed to buy anything new right now. I have to get through like 4 bolts before I'm even allowed to think about it. So
I don't think I've bought any fabric yet in 2021. And I know we're only into the second month of 2021, but that's probably a record for me.
it's good.
For how long I've gone without buying fabric.
I've only bought lining and like necessary things to finish garments. I've like been very good, but my rep just hit me up yesterday. I was like, stop it. I might get some solids. That's fine. I don't have solids. I have a lot of prints. Let's see. The next question I had, this is again, like kind of, we're going in the chronological order of Jordana's brand. So the next thing I have to ask is, how did you get into making rosettes, aka cockades? I feel like your brand is really known for that specifically. And at some point, I'm totally going to tell that story about how we were in LA because there's some moments from that story.
There's some moments from LA. Yeah, I think another reason I got into Lolita is because I really liked historical fashion, specifically like Italian Renaissance was like the thing Italian and German Renaissance was the thing I was really like, one day, I mean, I have kind of a very basic thing that I wear to the Renaissance fair, but like one day I'm going to make one of those like Cranach princess gowns with like the velvet and like the sleeves that do the thing. Yeah, one day.
Do it.
But Lolita was something where it would be easier for me to wear in my everyday life. And like, there are places that you can wear historical costume, but like for me living here, one of the only places that I could know of is the Renaissance Fair. And that's only a few times a year and I don't have a car. So it's like, I only really ever get to go once a year usually. So like rosettes were a thing that I knew of from like more, I guess, Rococo fashion that I was like, why don't we have that? And then there was that AP, like the first like AP rosette print. And then they made the rosettes to go with it. And I was like, I can do that, but like different. And there's this ribbon store, which honestly, I hope it's still there because with everything, I haven't been there. And I'm like, please still be alive. But I went to this ribbon store, this local ribbon store that I love that has like the most expensive, just exquisite, like Makuba ribbon.
Oh, Makuba.
So I was talking to the owner about Makuba and how much I love Makuba. And she was like, oh, you'll appreciate this. And she like takes me to the back and she shows me like how Makuba would send their samples. And they're in these like exquisite little boxes and blah, blah, blah. And then because we kind of hit it off, I was like, I really want to make those like cockades. And she was like, oh, let me show you how. So she just like showed me how, which, you know, I've spent a lot of money in that store. And so I guess if she was marketing, that worked. But that's how I learned how to make them, just from this woman at the ribbon store. And then I like things where I can repeat them, but then I can also make them unique. And I can put like stupid things in the middle. So I'm like, oh, I have this like wooden picture of cats playing an accordion, and then I have this ribbon that looks like the Italian flag. I can make that into a rosette. And sometimes I'm like, okay, this rosette is to match a thing that exists. And sometimes this rosette just needs to exist, like this weird George Washington rosette needs to exist, or this egg rosette, or whatever.
The egg one, I think Megan Maud has that one.
Megan Maud also has the George Washington one. I believe that was specifically by her request.
That's funny. To get onto the LA story. So Jordana and I were both at Anime Expo one year together for Lolita Collective, and we went like trim shopping, just the two of us, one day, because I know that you need a lot of findings, especially like this guy, this pressed
The
Right.
metal
Yeah, I'm trying to think like the
stampings.
pressed brass, pressed tin
Stampings.
sometimes.
Yeah.
These things, they don't really make them anymore, which is really sad.
No.
So a lot of these are all vintage, and like what you guys get is what is out there. Trust me when I say that.
Yeah.
So we found this really great store that just had a metric foot ton of these little tiny drawers, and we were like going through, and I don't really use them, but Jordana does, and I bought a bunch of like trims to like braid and gimp and stuff like that for me, and then we went to this store with this cat for these hat veils. I don't know if that store is still in LA, but it was a trip.
You warned me.
I did warn you because I've been there before.
That this was like this poor cat. I have never seen a cat so filthy. And she warned me. She's like, it's filthy, but I couldn't not pet a cat. Like if you put a cat in front of me, like I don't care what cat it could be hissing at me and I'm still going to try to pet it. Like, and so I'm petting this cat and I pulled my hand away and it was gray, like this poor cat.
I know. The thing was, like, the cat was also, like, real into being petted, though. It was like, oh, yeah. God, attention, please, for the love of God, help.
The cat was, like, so into it, so of course I'm going to keep petting the cat. And then the owner of the store was, like, saying all this weird, like,
oh my God.
In the voice of the cat.
I forgot about that part. Yeah, she was...
Keep petting me. It was so creepy.
I was really uncomfortable at that point. She was like, oh, yeah, I like it. And I was just like, please stop talking.
And I just was like... just please let me pet this cat that you clearly are not like providing the right sort of love and like.
I mean, she seemed like she was trying, but she was just, I don't know. Yeah. She didn't seem like she had her collective shit together to say like the store was a mess, the cats were a mess. She opened like, remember we showed up like when the store was supposed to open, like half an hour after that, and she still wasn't there. And it was like an hour after that because we went and got our other trim and came back, and there were other people waiting. And it was just, I was like, how is this a business?
That was quite the day.
It was a day. There was also a guy pooping because LA.
Yeah. I think that was one of my first days in LA. And I just was like, wow, okay, this is exactly what I was told it would be.
California things. Oh my God. It's one of my favorite memory lane moments with you, Jordana, is that thing. We also got some really great agua frescos though. So like that was actually perfect peak LA too. It's good. So back to the live journal stuff. Like I said, you and I have known each other since live journal days. Do you have a favorite live journal thread or memory you'd like to share with us?
I was going to say, like, you know, I was there, Gandalf, 3,000 years ago when people were arguing about whether or not polka dots were Lolita. But the even deeper cut is that I remember before EGL existed, that there was this other group and like the mods of which were, I'm pretty sure it was Megan Mod, Doe Deer of Lime Crime.
Oh my goodness.
And what's her name from Sugar Pill? What is her name? I'm really bad at like words and names. If that's
okay. I don't keep up with the makeup community very much, so it's hard for me to remember those people.
Yeah, I don't really either. I just know that like Sugar Pill is the one brand. Shrinkle, yes, thank you. Shrinkle. They were like, and there was this huge falling out, you know, mostly because Doe Deer was a trash can. And
yeah, that's the one thing I do know about that whole situation.
Yeah, it was like, I remember because Shrinkle would make these like confections of like lingerie and like, she would just like cobble things together and sell them on eBay. And like, there was a lot of like proto Lolita, like it wasn't Lolita, but it was kind of like, you know, probably it was Fruits fashion or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was very like, you know, neon, like thing, like part square dancing dress, part lingerie, kind of all cobbled together. And that like, there was also this big like Courtney Love thing going on. And like, I remember those days, like in the Wild West before we even had EGL.
Before the rules.
Yeah. So it's just kind of interesting. Like, I remember when there were a lot of just like square dancing dresses because that's what you could get, you know?
Yeah, I do.
And I wasn't wearing it yet. Like, I was just sort of observing at that point. But because I remember just being like, this is so confusing. Like, what? And I think that's why we kind of got obsessed with rules is because it was confusing and there was so much going on, and it was like things could have gone very differently if we had, as a Western community, had kind of like kept going, and there were a lot of different directions and we maybe chose one.
Yeah.
And I just think about like those days and how experimental everything was.
Yeah, I recently saw that you were thinking about doing like a patchwork dress, and I remember that there was one girl on So Lowly who did a bunch of patchwork dresses that were like really intense, and I wanted to go track them down for you and send them to you. Maybe I'll still do that. I recently went down there to find something for somebody else recently, so I know what it's like to go back to the live journal and have to like scroll infinitely and hate everything.
Yeah.
But her stuff was really like unique and creative, and she's like one of the people I can think of who was like really doing crazy like just how it is with like quilts where you get things that are like similar theme, similar color story, but just different prints all over the place. She was doing stuff like that. It was really crazy. I was like, only one person I've ever known who's ever done something like that. I'm gonna try and find him for you. And another question I had about your Blythe dolls. Is it fun for you to like make little mini, like for Dolly Rockers, which is your brand for your Blythe doll dresses? Sorry, it's blanked out in words. Words
are hard.
Is it fun for you to like experiment with like print ideas on like the miniature scale, and then before you think about doing them or do you just do totally different ideas?
They're kind of different ideas, which like is a functional thing, because usually my doll clothes are like a clip, like, so I like clip art. I mean, clearly like this dress is clip, like a lot of my stuff is, because I don't really draw to the level that I would like. So I just find art that I can legally use because I either pay for it or I hire somebody to do it, or it's in the public domain, whatever. And then I make my prints out of it. So with the doll dresses, the whole dress is like this big. So the print resolution doesn't have to be or the original image doesn't have to be that good.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're so small, they're much simpler. So they're usually just a repeat image of like, a weird cat in a row with some stripes in the background. I mean, that's kind of like my go-to.
Yep.
But I've definitely had people say, hey, can you make like the Blythe version of the bat dress? Or, hey, can you make the people version of the weird cat's dress? And I'm like, well, maybe, but it's hard to take something as involved as the bat dress and shrink it down. And it's hard to take that little cat that maybe I don't have the biggest image of, like I'd have to like rescan it or something. I don't know. So
yeah.
They're kind of two different things, but I kind of wish they overlapped a little more. And that's one of the many things on my list of things to try to figure out at some point. But I still have such
interesting to think about.
Yeah. I still have such a backlog of prints that, especially because like when I started, I was mostly just making things for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so it went from, which ironically, Dolly Rockers, the first fashion show I ever did as a Lolita brand, I called it Dolly Rockers. Like Mossbadger didn't even exist yet. And then I was like, oh, I should keep these separate, because Dolly Rockers was a brand in the 60s and 70s.
Okay.
That was very like, what's that Dolly K vintage brand that everyone likes? Like not Laura Ashley, the other one.
Gunny Sacks?
Yeah, it's like very like a new Edwardian, like a 60s Victorian revival, or like which is like totally my wheelhouse, which is why I know what that brand is, but it just had the word doll in it. And like people aren't going to confuse like a little tiny doll dress with like a human dress, but I didn't want to, then I was like, I shouldn't name my human clothes brand after that. So that's kind of why it's Mossbadger, not Dolly Rockers.
Makes sense.
I had a point I was going to get to, and now I've forgotten what it was.
It's gone out the window.
Yeah, it'll either come back or it won't. It's fine.
It will, I'm sure. Speaking of prints and print ideas, is there one on the back burner that you're just dying to do next, or?
Oh, there's several. There's one print that I haven't done, mainly because my friend Allison said she would draw it for me, and if she's watching this, which I wanted a print of eels.
Eels! I love it.
But the other one that I said I was going to do, and then I kind of like got distracted by, the pandemonium, is like beetles. Like how in Animal Crossing you catch the
bugs.
Like the beetle, the horned, the ones with the those ones. But stag beetles, but on tartan.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm into it.
Because
Do it.
I was like, oh, tartan is trending. What would it look like if I did tartan? Well, I'd have to put something on it because I can't just have tartan. So stag beetles on tartan just made sense. I don't know.
Green print some big ass beetles on some tartan. Just some black beetles. Do it.
Well, I want them to be like how the bats are. Like I'm gonna get an old science book.
Yeah.
Like a vintage nature book and use those beetles. For it,
so. Yes, beetles. Good to know. But yeah, when you said eels, I was just thinking about how we don't know how eels reproduce, and that's immediately what you triggered in my head.
I just thought it would look cool, and I don't know why it matters that it has to be eels and not snakes, because like I feel like, I don't know, a lot of times my print ideas are kind of like, I'm like almost like I'm trolling myself. Like it's just like, how could I make this more me? Which means how could I make this like stupider? Like I need a better word for it than that, but I'm just sort of like,
no, well, I feel that.
I can't just make a tartan dress. I have to put stag beetles on it because that's what I would do. Like as if someone else is deciding what I would do. I don't. It doesn't make any sense. But like,
no, makes perfect sense. Like I buy fabric and then I forget about it because I get my fabric boated from Japan, so I don't know I forget what I've ordered. So it takes like 4 or 5 months to get to me, and then it shows up, and I open the box, and I'm like, what the hell, Haley? Like, why did you buy this? What were you smoking? Why did you order this? So I feel you when it's like, what did I do here? Like,
yeah, that's like me with the earrings too. Because like I'll get the box of earrings, and I'll be like the charms, and I'll be like, why did I think corn earrings should exist? Like, why did I buy these fake dentures to make teeth earrings? But then, like, honestly, the corn earrings are turning out, like, super cute.
You know what? I like the idea of the corn earrings, just so you know. Like, that is charming and ridiculous. But I 100% feel you with, like, no, I gotta get something stupid. So, like, yeah, I bought nigiri fabric recently, and I was like, so I opened the box, and it was, like, on top. And I was like, Haley, nigiris aren't kawaii. Just in my head. I mean, I'm sure they'll do fine. I'm sure it'll go over smooth, but it was just one of those things where like, why do I do this to myself? Why would I think of all the choices of all the prints that I could have picked, nigiris? Just I
mean, like that's how the bat dress came to be, and people like that. So I guess I should just keep doing things.
You should keep going. See, that's what I'm saying. Like it turns out. Like whenever you have one of those like weird gut moments where you're like, I'm gonna buy this dumb fabric, it usually works out. Like usually it goes fine.
Like the tarot card print was just me. Like everything was all space print right then.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to make a space print Lolita dress. What if I just take this other print that I silk screened? And I don't want to like, so the difference between silk screening something and getting it digitally printed is it kind of doesn't make sense to get a 2-color print digitally printed. Like it's sort of a waste.
Right. Yeah.
So the original tarot card print was just like, I think it was like a black or silver on like an eggplant purple fabric because I silk screened it and I made one of them. That was the point I was getting to before. So we'll come back to that. Me making one of things.
Okay.
So I made one of it, and I don't remember. Like there are 2 people that own like all these random one-offs that I made. So either Emma has it or Erin has it. So when I was going to remake the tarot dress, and I wanted to make on digital printing, I was like, well, it has to be more than one color. What if I just made it like galaxy print? And then I accidentally sent it in at the wrong size.
Oops.
And that is why the tarot dress is long.
Oh.
Because that was a mistake. And then I said, actually, it looks cool like this. I'll just get my tall friend to model it. And that's why Mossbadger makes long dresses.
That's funny.
The end.
I love it. Okay. Back to the one-off thing. You gotta tell us the one-off story.
So when I started, I would really just make dresses for myself because I am a fat person. It is hard well, it's easier now, but it was a lot harder in like 2008
Oh yeah.
to buy brand and especially, being new, being in the world of like, we have rules. And I was very concerned with like, I have to stay within the lines. So for me to make a Lolita, for me to have Lolita that fits me, I'm going to have to make it myself because I can't buy brand that fits me. And the non-brand options were not as good then.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just make my stuff and like, I would buy fabric, but then I would get these goofy ideas and they didn't exist. Or at least I couldn't find them. So then I would print them myself. And then people would say, I want that. And I would say, oh, I don't really sew that well. I don't really want to make other things for other people. But then, we had fashion shows. So I would make like one of each dress for the model to wear, which usually ended up with the model. And then I was like, yeah, I totally have a brand now. But like, I really don't make like more than one of anything ever. So eventually I kind of just got like, I want to say bullied into it, but not literally. Like,
no,
fine. I guess I should make things for people other than like me and like my 3 friends. And like, if I hire someone else to sew them, then I can stop worrying about how I don't sew well enough to make things for other people to buy. So,
there you go.
So now, that's not how to make a brand, but that's how I made a brand.
It worked. It's working for you.
Thank you. Also, I said I was going to switch glasses because I couldn't decide which glasses to wear.
Oh, halfway through.
I'm going to do that now.
Oh, yeah.
I made a post on Facebook and the votes were even. So I was like, I'll just wear both of them.
Wear both. Speaking of fashion shows, I know I miss cons a whole bunch. Is there any one con or event that you remember like really fondly or miss the most?
I mean, there are some things I miss, but I think it was more like the trauma bonding of it that I miss.
It's kind of true. I feel that.
I can't think of like a specific thing. I mean, just random snippets of things that come to mind is I remember being at RuffleCon and there was an automatic honey drop and everybody was going to a panel. And I was sitting in the hallway with my laptop buying jewelry because I was like, priorities. And I remember like being in the back of numerous vehicles or crowded into a very full vehicle, either going to or coming from a convention with all of the like Lolita Collective stock, like Tetris around you.
I'm always afraid, like what if we get into an accident with all this shit in the car? Like,
yeah.
Die.
And it's like, I miss those things, but I don't miss those things at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally understand. Like, when we did the LA trip, we all had to pile into my car to get down to the Airbnb that was like down in Ventura or wherever by the airport. I think I had to go down there, drop stuff off first so that we had enough room in the car, and then I came back. And like, I had to pass out in my car because I was like so tired, and I was like, I have to drive. Like, I want to help you guys unload and pack or whatever. I was like, but if I don't sleep now, we will not get back to the Airbnb safely. So like, I pulled my car off like on the side of the loading dock and just blacked out. Like, I don't have any recollection of how long I was out for or whatever, and I don't miss that level of exhaustion. Like, I don't miss that. I do miss being around my peers a lot. Like, that is something I do miss. Like, I love being around creative people who do what I do. I think that's a lot of fun and it's good energy. Like, I had like a dinner with Kamila, just the 2 of us one night. You and I hung out at a different time to go shopping. Like, I really do miss that amount of like peer to peer stuff, and maybe we should do that more and less of the stressful trauma stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have a designer's retreat.
I mean, the virtual events and stuff are definitely like helping a bit. Yeah, because it's like the other thing that I've been doing that I kind of started doing right before, well, not right before, like I guess sometime in 2019 I started. I became a LARPer because I'm a huge dork and I needed to find a nerdier hobby. So I started going to LARPs. and I miss people. I miss like hanging out with people, and I miss that. So, you know, and
Yeah.
like we have virtual versions of that too, which is sort of helping, but like,
It's not the same.
yeah.
Yeah. I feel you. So into the serious stuff, what are some of the struggles you have as an indie designer or brand owner? Like what is the struggle bus for you right now?
Struggle bus for me right now is like when I say something is going to take 8 to 10 weeks for pre-order, and then inevitably it's not done, and I'm just like, like, can we? And it's let's see. I used Panda Express. I used Pandemonium. I'm like we're in the middle of a Plantagenet, and we it's like hard supply chain issues. The people who are making the clothes, because this last release that is sort of in progress was my first time working with a larger facility, because I was like, how can I need to be able to make more product at one go. And so there were a lot of, first time getting this thing done with this new facility, and like it's more people, but because of stuff, I can't think of any more P words. They can't have everybody working at the same time necessarily. So it's like, delays. There were issues with the fabric. So yeah, that's the biggest struggle. I want to be able to be like, yep, it's going to be 10 weeks. And then it's 10 weeks and they get mailed out. So it's like, I'm not, because I get really anxious about like making people wait and like having to worry that they're like, hi, where's my dress? Hi, where's my dress? And I'm like, all I can do is be like, it's coming soon.
Yeah.
You know?
I think production stuff is it's so hard to estimate, and you always think you've given yourself enough time and then you never have. And I mean, I'm in the like a different problem with like getting this, cause like I do things differently and I have to like get the pattern stuff right, and that always takes way more time than I think it does. So I feel the struggle to like just getting the production calendar down is always such a nightmare. People have no idea, like it's just so many like moving parts you're trying to integrate at the same time.
Yeah.
It's so hard. So I understand. I sympathize. If you had one thing you could tell someone who is interested in becoming a new designer, what is one piece of advice you'd give them?
I tried to think of an answer to this and I'm like, I don't know. I guess try to like figure out like why you want to do it, and then try to stay true to that as like your motivation. Like, because if I wouldn't recommend it if somebody's like, I'm gonna make it rich as a Lolita designer. Like, no, you're not.
No.
So you're gonna need a reason to keep going when, like if, for some of us it's our main gig, and I'm not there yet. I'm like maybe hoping to get to that point, but it's like something to keep you going when it's 2 a.m. and you got to get up in 6 hours for your day job, and you're like packaging orders or like trying to deal with a fabric issue or like, doing whatever. Like there's so many steps to it, worrying about how you need to enter all your expenses into some kind of a program so you can do your taxes properly, like stuff like that. Like you need something to keep you through those moments, because those moments kind of suck.
They really suck.
It's not all like my favorite thing is right at the fashion show, like as the models are coming back off stage.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I'm done. I did it. And like you can have that moment to like bask in like that you completed a project and like hopefully it went well, and you're not immediately like, okay, now what's next? You just have that like moment of like, okay, I did the thing, and like I feel glamorous because I did a fashion show. That's the best part. So you need to think of something to keep you motivated to get through the parts that are not the best part.
Yeah, I agree. That's really good advice. Especially the part where like, don't think you're gonna get into this to get rich or famous or something. Like that's yeah. Anytime I meet anybody who's like, I want to be a fashion designer, he's gonna be rich, famous. I'm like, no, you're not. What are the future plans for Mossbadger? Is there anything like specific, like big term, like big long-term goals?
Hopefully it's long term.
Oop, you broke
To a
up just a
point.
little bit. Hold on. Still breaking up. Try now. Nope. I think we're losing you. Yeah.
It's for a second, but then back.
Yeah, slowly coming back.
Okay.
Oh, I can see you moving. Okay, let's try again.
I'm moving.
Yeah, you're moving. It's just blurry, but I can see you at least.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
It's a little digitized, but that's okay.
Do I sound like a robot?
You did for a second. Okay, I think I can hear you okay.
Okay. What was I saying?
We were talking about big goals.
Oh, yeah. I kind of want to be able to quit my day job.
Yeah.
That's the goal I've always been afraid to have. And now I'm like, no, maybe this could be a thing. Maybe we should be working towards that as a thing. And then I guess my other goal is like, I'm kind of making fun of this when I say it this way, but I want to make a lifestyle brand.
Oh, fun. No, do it.
Like, you know, people should be able to have like things in their house with stupid bat print on it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Why not? You know, like,
fuck yeah, I'm here for it. I want some dumb pillows, some throw pillows.
Like, I want a mouse pad, or a travel mug, or like, I don't know.
little makeup baggie.
Yeah, like,
do it.
Why not? So that's my other goal.
I'm here for it, 100%. I was just looking for like a cute printed wallet, so yeah.
Which is funny because way before the Lolita days, I had this little business making stuff for craft fairs with my best friend. And just a couple weeks ago, he finally was like, hey, yo, I'm sick of having all this stuff in my storage unit. Can we figure out what we're doing with this? So I'm like the remnants of like the stuff that never got sold. I'm probably going to put it on my Etsy. Ooh. But he was really into wallets.
Oh, nice.
He'd make these like extremely complicated wallets out of like corduroy that like unfolded. And they were just like, he was really good at the sort of like 3D design. And I handled the like putting the colors together or picking the prints and like that kind of stuff. So he would just make these really intricate. We also made stuffed animals.
Oh, cute.
So
that'll be fun. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So those are the questions that I had. So I'm going to open it up to the audience to ask questiones of you. But yeah.
Yes, ask me questions, please.
Ask away.
Otherwise, I'm going to start talking about LARP.
Yeah,
and then I won't stop talking about LARP.
We could just talk about, how you feel about Bridgerton.
I haven't seen Bridgerton, and I will eventually get around to Bridgerton, but now I've kind of backed myself into a corner because the most recent thing I signed up for is, in fact, a LARP that is all done through writing letters.
Oh.
And like you can still sign up for it. It's if you go to romancingjan, JAN.com. But like, so it's a Regency LARP.
Oh.
But it's through letter writing. So normally the first thing I get into with like a LARP is, costuming, right? Because I'm me and I care about like clothes. So I usually am like, okay, what am I going to wear? What is my character wear? But this is all through not in person. So I was like, wait, I could play a guy.
Ooh.
Because like, there's no reason I couldn't if I really wanted to play a guy. But like, I don't feel like figuring that out with like the costuming and like strapping stuff down and like, but I also wanted to play like the typical like Byronic hero that you see in a lot of, media that is set in Regency times.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't want him to be white because like, and this LARP is very much about like an alternate history where, not only white men have all the power.
Sure.
But then I was like, everyone's going to be like, oh, like, because isn't the like one guy in Bridgerton, isn't he basically that? And I'm just going to be like, it's not, I didn't see Bridgerton, it's not him.
Kind of like a womanizer though, so maybe
Exactly. Like I basically my character's like a Regency fuckboy.
well, whatever.
Because like I just thought
Who
that would
cares?
be fun to
Who
play.
cares? There can be more than one. It's okay. Do it.
I
I don't
know.
care.
But yeah, so I feel like now I have to see Bridgerton, but I almost don't want to see Bridgerton because I don't want to be like
Well,
having that influence my decisions.
It's research to knowing like how to make them different. So
Yeah.
this is really funny. So we wanted to know, what do you LARP as besides?
Okay, so most people when they hear LARP, if they know what that is, which if you don't, it's live action role play. They usually picture some dudes running around in the woods with like foam pool noodles. Lightning bolt, right? Like if you know me at all, I'm not like an outside person. I'm not into like camping. So the LARPs I have done, you like go to a hotel, a nice hotel, and you wear like ball gowns and you like, and that is not to say that the running around in the woods is not valid. That is just like, and I'm sure I will at some point do one of those. I just like the fun that I know I enjoy is maybe not exactly the Venn diagram isn't that,
Right.
It's like so
has anybody seen the was it like is it like Black Girl in a Big Dress? I remember the name of the
that I feel like that's more what I'm doing.
Vibe, yeah.
And it's more like I think in that series she's doing more like a historical costuming, historical reenactment kind of thing.
Kind of, but like she also in her head is pretty much
a character. Yeah. And it's very like people get weird about what is and isn't LARP.
Yeah.
And like so things like the Society for Creative Anachronism, some people consider that a LARP, some people would be like, how dare you?
Oh my god.
It's very like people love to categorize things. We all know this as people who are
Lolita. Gotta fit in my perfect box. Don't you dare take it out of my box.
That's classic, not sweet. How dare you? AP is not a gothic brand. So it's like it's fine. Everybody calm down. But the first LARP I went to, I played, again, it was historically adjacent, like a Victorian-ish world where magic exists. And my character is, and I will play her again eventually. She's like a rich, she does seances.
Ooh.
She's kind of not nice, which is funny because like I pride myself on being a nice person.
You were very nice.
And I went into this game like, oh, I mean, she's rich, but like she's not a bad person. And then just like terrible things kept coming out of my mouth. Which like okay. I always say when I try to explain my mother to people that if you've ever seen the British comedy Keeping Up Appearances, that my mother is Hyacinth. She puts like doilies under everything. She's very like proper and like, so I was trying to make her that, but then the privilege started to become like she's not a nice person, but it's really fun to play somebody like that because the thing about LARP is that it's all negotiated. So, if you're a good LARPer, you're not actually bullying anybody, but then you kind of take the person aside and be like, hey, can I bully you? Is that okay? Like, and if they're okay with it, then that's different. And like, kind of giving that person something to play off of by being like, not the bad guy, but like,
being antagonistic, being the heel.
Yeah. So it was like actually super fun. So I think that's kind of why this Regency character is like, no, he's kind of not, he's a womanizer, or not even a womanizer because he's not straight, but like any womanizer.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
So there.
So yeah, I've played her, and then I went to a different like timeline of that same game, and I played a circus performer who could see into people's dreams. But like the more she did it, the more sick it was making her, and people kept trying to get her to do it, and it was just like destroying her from the inside. Mm-hmm. So she was supposed to be very tragic, but I managed to get her a happy ending. And then I've also played a divination teacher at a wizard school. that was based on Endora from Bewitched.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah.
also The Love Witch, if you know that movie. So I went very like 60s with my styling and everything. I've also played, I just did a cyberpunk LARP, a virtual one. Like, was it last week or was it the week before? And I don't even really want to talk about that character because I don't know what's coming next for her. I think I'll get her to play her again, but she was a complicated character, but it was, she was very, like, I like to play characters that are either hot and or rich because, like, why not get to live that out? You know what I mean? So she was definitely like a hot character. And I got to flirt with people, which is something that I can't really do in person. I'm really bad at it. So the fact that I think I successfully flirted in character, I'm very proud of myself.
Oh, that's so cute. That's funny. Jessica has another good question for you. What is your favorite time period for vintage clothing?
1966 through 1968.
Well, that's very specific. That's incredibly specific.
I've thought about this.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's.
You were ready.
Yeah.
100%.
There's a reason that I played that wizard school character. Like that was me, because when I was in college, I was really into 60s fashion, and I was like, you know, I was a mod and I ran around. Like, I didn't have a scooter or anything, but I would have had one, and it was kind of an excuse for me to get back into that and buy things that I can then just wear afterwards as me and not as my character. Yeah, I really like psychedelic colors and patterns before it gets quite into like hippie, though. Like, it has to be, that's why it's that specific, like that sweet spot. It's before Woodstock, because then everybody gets very like fringe and like mud, and no, I want it cleaner than that, you know?
Yeah, every time I think of Woodstock, all I can think about is just like people being covered in mud. I'm just like, why was that hot? You guys are weird. Stop. Take a shower.
Yeah, it's gotta be, it's like when the Beatles started doing drugs, but they hadn't broken up yet. It's like, that's the sweet spot. You know? Like,
I feel you.
That's what I want.
That's very specific, and I appreciate it. I also love Monty's question of why not 1969?
Nice. Because like I said, it's too muddy. It's like you have to cut it off. It's right before when everybody gets all like bearded and stuff. Like long hair, yes. Bearded, no. Like it's just very like
right before the porn stashes start creeping out.
Yeah.
70s is one of my favorite weird periods of fashion. I don't want to wear most of it, but it's really fun to like look at the magazines and be like, wow, especially menswear. Menswear in the 70s is sure something.
Yeah. And I have some 70s stuff for sure, but like I kind of want like the Brady Bunch more. You know what I mean? Like I just want like yellow daisies and a headband and like
Twiggy.
Yeah. Or like like Marianne Faithfull, or like I could just go on, and I'm not going to because that's another tangent.
I mean, we're here for you, so you know all of your tangents are valid.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any specific questions? I'm trying to think if there's anything that I wanted to bring up that I've forgotten. I know that like I tried to prepare ahead of time. Now I'm like on the spot. I'm like, what more could I ask? I'm just very glad to have you join us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've like I said, we met each other through Tiny Chat through like 2000. I don't know, 7 or something, probably, maybe. And then maybe a little bit later than that. Maybe a little later than that.
2009, maybe?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Can we see the Toad collection again?
I'm not going to get them all down, but I will just do this because I am lazy.
I love these cats, by the way.
Yeah, most of those are from like Target.
I love them though.
And then I've got the like popcorn bucket from Disney because I'm secretly like a Disney Parks person. And then
that tracks.
That's fake mattress. And then that's real mattress, because mattress, you can tell by the hat that that's real mattress.
Yeah, okay. It's very specific.
I made that hat I have a a poodle purse by Baby. And I was going to a baby tea party and wearing the Alice Halloween print. And I needed my purse, which was a poodle, to match. So I made the poodle a witch hat because that is, yeah. So now it's Halloween poodle. So it matches.
Why not? I mean, that's very on brand.
Yeah.
It's very on brand.
Oh,
but yeah. Oh, I know. I have a good question. I totally forgot to put this in here. When did you join the Lolita Collective? And what is do you have any like stories to tell about that?
I feel like I was one of the first people because it was literally still called Midwest Lolita Collective.
Mm-hmm.
And we did Frill. Was that the first thing we did?
Memories.
Like Frill 2, not Frill 1.
Yeah.
It was either like that, either Frill was the first thing we did, or it was like a local convention that shall not be named because all of the local conventions here are problematic. Not all of them, but kind of all of them.
That's a mood.
But yeah, because yeah, it was probably Frill.
That was also a problem, but that's
yeah, but I mean, like, everything is a problem eventually, right? And that's why they stop happening, and then a new thing happens.
Well, we're trying to be good.
No, yeah, not everything, but like, you know, all these things that we used to do that don't exist. There's a reason why they don't exist anymore.
Yeah, it's usually internal, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like having some like PTSD flashbacks thinking
That's
about
fair.
Frill. I'm just like,
yes, I remember having to threaten somebody because they sent me a check that bounced because somebody closed the bank account.
The worst thing that happened to me at Frill is somebody sold one of my fashion show looks before the fashion show. It wasn't even ever supposed to be for sale.
Oh, whoops.
And not only that, it was like a blouse, and they sold it for the price of my cut sews. Because it didn't have a tag, because it wasn't for sale.
Mm.
My blouse don't cost the same as my cut sews, okay? Never, ever on any planet, why would you think that would be the price? Why would you not just ask me? I don't understand. What the hell? Luckily, it was to a friend, so I was able to get it back for the fashion show, but then I still had to give it to her the other day, because she fucking bought it, so I was like...
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, it's just a totally disorganized mess, for lack of a better description.
I mean, my Frill experience was mostly positive, because I'm also that person who will like selectively forget all of the bad things that happened and only remember the good things that happened, or will like turn the bad things into like, well, that was an adventure.
I mean, it was an adventure.
I remember being backstage and like the people who worked at the hotel kept like traipsing through while people were trying to change because they had us in some weird room and then they had to move everybody. I remember that. But that was like one of my first like, that was my first like fashion event that wasn't just like an anime con. But I mean, you know,
for a lot of people,
I did a fashion show once that was like everything. Nothing is as bad as this one show, which was like, it was only, I think it was me, Emma, and like one or two other brands. Somebody was friends with these people who owned an antique store.
Oh boy.
And for some reason, we were having this fashion show in this antique store. And they had like some kind of a stage thing. So there was like a thing, but, and I can laugh about it now. Okay, number one of the things that most people who know me know about me is that I am extremely phobic of taxidermy.
I know those, yes.
Guess what they had in this antique store?
Of course.
Number one. That's number one. Number two, and this is our fault. There's nobody that can be blamed except ourselves. Somehow we did a whole fashion show and didn't think to bring any music.
Oh, guys.
Because this was like this was very early in like, you know, just somehow, just with everything else going on, just forgot. This store had 2 CDs, one of which was like a sort of a new age, very like, you know, chimes and like just sort of like a nothing, sort of like
Sure,
a
sure.
meditation,
Hmm.
and a Bollywood, like
Oh
best
my
of Bollywood.
God.
So
I
that was what
love
we chose.
Yeah, those are
Um,
your choices.
None of my models had leg wear. None of them were Lolita models. They were like regular models. So they
Okay.
came to the show with like, you know, flesh toned pantyhose and like stiletto heels. So all of my models, who were all very tall because they were like regular
Real
models,
models,
were in
yeah.
these short Lolita dresses, bare legs, and stilettos. It was just
Totally what I asked for.
So I think that's part of why I was like, yeah, every fashion show since then has not been that bad because it was in comparison to that one fashion show. But we still had fun.
I
It was
mean,
a
yeah,
mess, but we had fun. It
yeah.
was like on the local news or something. You know,
Whatever.
it was like baby's first fashion show, and I was just like, wow,
Yeah,
I
I had a
have to
similar
chat.
one, but it was like at an art gallery, like openings. I feel you. Yeah, baby's first fashion show. It's fine.
Yeah,
We all have these moments. You think about it more, it's like cringy, mid cringe town, but it's fine. It's fine. It's
yeah,
fine. It's fast.
it was fine. We survived.
Yeah, it's true.
Best fashion show experience. So I have two answers for that. My two best fashion show experiences were last Paradiso, because this is the part where I'm gonna not cry.
Oh,
I feel it coming. I'm like, nope, we're not doing that. In 2021, we do not cry on stream. We do not cry at panels because I have like that was another thing about Frill. We had the designer panel and I just started bawling in the panel because I am a very emotional person. And somebody was like, "What's hard for you?" And I was like, everything is
yeah,
hard. But people were like so supportive, and then that just made. And then I think Helena was on the panel and she started crying because I was crying, and it was just the whole thing. So we're not going to cry today. So when I came off the stage at Paradiso, and Triple Fortune were waiting backstage with literally open arms, like to hug me and tell me I did a great job.
oh,
And I was
that's so
just like,
nice.
is this really happening? Like, wow, like that was
So
like
nice.
the other best fashion show was when I went to Amsterdam, my first time at a European fashion event. And it was so well organized that my mind was just blown by that. Like I had never like like they had like the sheets for like what the model's supposed to wear
Mm-hmm.
like ahead of time.
Yeah.
Like, and like garment racks and a backstage and they're real, and they did the run through and they kind of had the designers like watch the run through, but they had already figured out the walk and had already had all the models practice. They made a video, which weeks ahead of time, because it was a little bit complicated because, the European events are always in these weird, like, castles and like weird, like, so to
I'm
get from
jealous.
yeah, it was amazing. So to get from like the backstage to the stage was like kind of complicated. So somebody filmed it. Like, okay, so when you get here, like weeks before and sent it to all of the, yeah, it was like, so, and then they came to my table to get the fashion show stuff, like as we were setting up at the beginning of the day. And I had something that was missing because I still had it. And I knew that it wasn't in the bag. I don't remember why. There was a reason, but I wasn't like, I knew I had it. So I was like, whatever, I'll just walk it back there later. And then like 15 minutes later, someone comes to my table like, oh, we're missing an item. Like the fact that they like knew, I just was like, wow, like you guys are so on the ball. And then like I got to just watch the show.
Yeah.
Like I never get to just watch the show,
Yeah,
It
that's
just
fair. I mean,
blew
I
my
feel
mind.
like
It blew my mind.
yeah, I feel like Fanime runs pretty smoothly for us. That's the only show I manage anymore. I don't ever get to watch the show because I'm busy being like a manager of people, but like, yeah, I know what you
Yeah.
mean. It's like it's so
And
nice when things are prepared and like organized. It feels so much better.
I don't even mean that as a criticism of other shows. Like,
No, but
it's
it's
just
like
that like this was the one time where there weren't any like issues.
yeah.
Because
Or
that
like
one
if there
year
were issues, you didn't have to
I
deal
didn't
with
know
them.
about that. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So it was like I never, because I'm usually helping or you know what I mean? So it was like the one time I got to just sit back and enjoy it. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, this is weird.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
there was that one RuffleCon. And again, this is like not really anybody's fault. It just was like the perfect storm of everything was going wrong. Like I can't even remember all the things that went wrong. The zipper broke in the one dress that I didn't make. I hired somebody to make it and the zipper broke. And so I had just met Samantha Ray for the first time in person. And she happened to be walking by and like I was freaking out. She's like, "Do you want me to sew your model into the dress?" And I was like, "Yes, the person that's been on fashion on a Project Runway is going to sew my model into a dress." Like this is weird. Somebody twisted their ankle like as we were about to go onto the stage. Somebody was bleeding
Oh
because like
God.
I think somebody, it might have been me, I don't remember. Somebody was bleeding because they like stuck themselves on a brooch.
Right.
One of the models was missing because she thought she was supposed to go to the backstage, like the literal backstage,
Oh
but the
God.
rest of us were in the dressing room. And so she was freaking out because she was the only one there. And she was like, "Oh my God, like I fucked up." And like, I'm like, where the hell is she? But I'm also like, this whole time, I'm just trying to be like, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And I remember saying, it'll be fine as long as nobody falls off the stage.
Did somebody fall off the fucking stage?
As she was coming back down the steps, this one model just like tripped and kind of like half dope, but like nobody saw her. And more importantly, she was fine.
Oh my God.
Like, but it was just like, what the heck? Like, what could go
What is
wrong?
happening?
It was
God.
like I felt cursed, you know?
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, we could honestly just do a whole panel on like the problems of fashion shows, to be honest. Like
Somebody couldn't find their shoes, and so they were wearing the wrong shoes. Like somebody got a stain on their blouse randomly. It was just like, it was
yeah.
just every what would have normally been like the one minor thing, all of those things, like everything
Yeah.
happened at once, and I just was like, oh
Every
no.
year at Fanime, when we're gonna move next year if we ever do another in-person show, but we have this room that we're supposed to get dressed in, which is separate from like the auditorium room. It's like a little small conference room. This isn't a hotel. And it's not on the map of the convention floor because it's not used for anything else. Like they don't use it at all. It's just because it's really small. It's like a narrow, small, like you could put like a boardroom table in it and that's it kind of room, but they clear all the furniture out. And every flipping year, I make a map from their like the hotel's website with like this is where the conference room is with the like the name of the room. And every year, one or two models just cannot find that room, even though I like have a map. Look at the map. If you don't know, ask the front desk. I don't know how to help you. I'm not coming down there to walk you up. I'm putting models in dresses. I don't have time for this. Like I just every year there's something like that.
It's always
happens.
like that. There's always something.
It's always
And
something.
it's like it's important to me because like the thing with fashion shows is like, yes, I want my stuff to look good. Like, yes, that's like the point. But they're almost always like volunteer models and or my friends modeling for
Yeah.
me. So
Yeah,
it is equally important that I want my models to enjoy the process. You know what I mean? Because it's like they're not getting paid to do it,
No.
and they're doing it out of the goodness of their own hearts, or like even if it's not the goodness of their own hearts, maybe it's because they just want to like be a cool model. Like that's fine. Like yeah. So like I just want the like participants to enjoy it as much as I want like the audience to be like, oh, Mossbadger is cool or whatever.
Yeah.
Like so it's just sort of like I'm stressing out because I'm stressing out about my stuff not looking good, but I'm also stressing out about like because inevitably there's always like somebody who's nervous or they haven't modeled before. And I'm like backstage, like trying to get them to do like the Wonder Woman pose. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the people who apply for the fan made fashion show, for the most part, we don't have that problem with like the nervousness. Really, I don't feel like. But I think so. I did that Delta H Con fashion show like what 3 or 4 years ago now. Wow, what is time? It's a flat circle. And that one had a lot of like newbie fashion models who like hadn't done it before. And I had forgotten because like we mostly have pretty experienced people who do fanime, or if not, they pretend real good, and I never have this problem anymore. But I've forgotten that people get like, I'm so nervous. And what's funny, like Tyler was actually there and Tyler from Scarfing Scarves, and she was really, really nervous actually, because she, I guess, YouTube is different where you're not like in front of a live audience situation. And I didn't think about that because I was like, oh, you're in front of people, you do things. And I put her at the front of the line and she was just like, I'm the first person.
Oh, I literally always ask, like when they're like, put your models in order, I just say, who has modeled before and feels confident being the first person? And then I make them go first.
I didn't
like,
think about it.
It's never based on the dresses. It's be like, who wants to go first?
Right. I was just like, you have experience doing things, surely. Like, it's just in my head. Like, but she was just like, what? Like, the look on her face. I was like, sorry. Like, because I had the dresses from Honolulu. This was like the year before Honolulu retired. And I was just like, big Honolulu. You're going to wear Honolulu and you're going to be the first look. And just like the amount of nervousness was, yeah. So I think I spent a lot of the time going like up and down the line of models. I mean, like, shake it out.
Yeah.
Like all the stuff you do if you've ever done acting ever before. They use a lot of like techniques to like get the nerves out of you if you're doing stage acting. So
I think that's what the Wonder Woman pose is supposed to do.
Yeah, so I sit there and I went down the thing. And I was like, and then like another key thing is to remember, walk slower than you think you need to have to, because every person will walk too fast. Guaranteed. Like these are pro tips if anybody out there wants to be a like model for any of our shows or model in general. You will always walk too fast. It just happens. It's just I'm gonna go like just on this like tunnel vision of walk. So you always walk slower than you think you need to. Take your time with the poses. Really work them. Yeah, I think that's and again, do the stupid like blah, 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 like do the faces, do the thing, shake it out, jump up and down, like like get it out before you get on the stage, and it helps a lot. So those are pro tips from someone who's both been on stage lots of times and also have to coach models. It's fine. You'll be fine. Like, again, unless you fall off the stage. Fine.
Yeah. I hate like
yourself. We only care about you don't hurt yourself. That's all we
care about. It's like one of those things where I don't have a lot of fear of like public speaking or whatever. I don't know why. I think it's because I used to play an instrument. I don't know. And so as soon as people like know that about me, like because when I went to Street Fashion Europe in Germany, not last year, because last year didn't happen, the year before, I sort of ended up as like the fashion show announcer because like I'm friends with the organizers and they were like too busy and they're like, you do it, you're not afraid, like if I put this microphone in your hand. And so I'm just like up there, and like so the like international guests were Nunu, and then Atelier Puro. So it was like, okay, like I've met, like we have, but then also like Ima Kira, and I just was like the whole time like trying not to just completely lose it because like she's like my favorite, and it's just like between her and Nunu being there, I just was like, this is not real. I died, and this is some sort of like brain fantasy that is being created because like this cannot be happening.
Yeah.
But also like the designer from Emily Temple Cute, and like I just was like, because I had to get up there and like it was like I was sitting with them. It was so bizarre. I just was like, the hell? Like, this is not... Because there's this picture of me and Nunu, because the thing was, Nunu, they were going to interview Nunu, because this was like after... This was like her sort of goodbye show, And like her wedding dress was in it and stuff. So then they wanted to interview her, and she was nervous. And I was like, I'll sit up there with you. So the two of us were on stage for her thing. And then like I would... like go into the audience with the mic to ask questions. And like one of my favorite pictures of me, because I hate photos of me, like I'm just like, do not perceive me. Like, so one of my favorite photos of me and it's a candid photo at that, is me sitting up there with her, and I'm just like the biggest smile on my face because I'm just like this is not real. I am in a different country and I'm hanging out with like this person who is like that I admire them. I'm not gonna cry. Not gonna cry. Yeah. It was just like, yeah, it was amazing.
That's super sweet though. It's a good story.
I am not crying. My eyes are slightly wet. It does not count.
It's fine.
I'm not crying.
It's fine. Totally fine. But yeah, like I do. I love all of those fashion show stories. I mean, we honestly could just do a whole panel on fashion show stories at some point. I think maybe we could talk about doing that for Ursa Major because there's always just like oh my god! I mean, we both could go on so much. Like I have AWA fashion show story, horror stories. My favorite one was when I was a model at one time because my eyebrows are very thin, like the hairs are very thin, and we didn't have good lighting where the makeup artists were doing our makeup. This bitch drew my eyebrow on like above where my actual eyebrow on one side, and I was like,
oh no! So you're like the Rock
idea.
the whole time.
That was one of my favorite moments. And then she like, I don't know, I didn't like this chick because she had the gall to ask me like, because I'm Asian, like I'm half Asian, so I don't have very thick hair like on my face at all, including my eyelashes. And she was like, "Do you pluck your lower lashes? That's weird." I'm like, "Why did you ask me that?" And no, fuck you.
This one time, I hate modeling, but like if it's like a friend and they need me, I'll do it. But I'm just like, ugh. So, Helena, the Osaka Koneko Kinky Kitty, was actually, it was a goth event.
Yeah.
And I was modeling for her, and for some reason, the makeup artist decided that I needed to have purple eyebrows.
Okay.
Like my hair wasn't purple.
It's a choice.
Yeah. It was interesting. Yeah.
No, I don't know. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of like really hilarious makeup artist stories that I've moments. Like, yeah, we should definitely do a panel. We should get a few of the other designers together and just have like fashion show horror stories and tips and tricks for being a Lolita model. And we can talk about the good stuff, like your beautiful, beautiful stories about good fashion shows, and then how to model and things you can do to like loosen up. But also, we can tell you like all the things that go wrong, things you should not do as a model. Do not show up late. Oh my god, I will murder you.
Oh god.
Like yeah, we can definitely do that.
Remember when scepters were like a big thing?
Yes, I do. I have a fashion show story during that time period too.
So I did a fashion show and I was like, oh, everyone's gonna have a prop. So somebody had a sword, and then somebody had a big giant key, and then somebody had a scepter. And she made the scepter, and she was definitely the person where I was like, you're going first, because she is like the confident one.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that convention, the fashion guest was Baby. So Isobe, whatever his name is, the guy.
I'm terrible with names, so
the president of Baby, whatever,
sure, yes.
the king of Baby,
the Lord of
the
Baby,
Duke of Baby, was there in the audience, and he was like center front because it was like the indies, and then they were gonna have Baby come out. And I'm trying to think of the artist, because the other thing that I loved about fashion shows that I at some point stopped getting to do was making the playlist, because it wouldn't just be like I would somehow become, for some reason I was in charge of all of the music, not just mine, especially at that point, because like we were basically running the fashion shows. Yeah, so they were like, and I'm like, I was a college radio DJ. Like, I have a very high opinion of my own musical taste. Yes, I would love to like curate the playlist for the fashion show. I'm trying to think of this artist, but like I put this artist on the playlist because this model was like obsessed with this artist, this Japanese artist. So she was feeling herself.
All right.
So she comes out on stage and she's like doing this very aggressive model walk, and she gets to the front and she just slams the steps down the stage, and he jumped in his seat. He was just like, ah!
Welcome to America.
And I was like, yes, like scare him. That is what I want.
That's great. I love it. Yeah. No, we should definitely let's do this panel. I'm about it. It'll be funny. We've got so many good stories. We could talk about fashion shows for like hours.
Yes, clearly. Everyone
has stories. But yeah, I think we should probably wrap it up unless anybody else has questions. I don't want to like interrupt people's questions. Is it last round for questions? We've taken up an hour and almost a half of Jordana's magical mythical time.
Yeah, my extremely busy schedule of sitting in my house.
Shh, it's fine.
I have things to do. I'm just avoiding them. So
yeah, I know. Me too, girl. I'm got some stuff I should be doing. Some skirts I should be making. Oh, what instrument do you play? That's a good question.
I played the flute, but really I played the recorder. And when I say that, people are like, well, everyone plays the recorder.
No, that's not true.
Everyone learns to play like hot cross buns on the recorder. I didn't play like that. I played like early and Baroque music for like 12 years of my life. Like I played at like people's weddings. I was like hardcore.
Was it one of the big ones?
Yeah, I didn't have the bass because I was still young enough that my finger spread wasn't big enough to quite make, but I had a tenor and an alto recorder and a sopranino, a little tiny one. Yeah, and I played the flute in high school and I was very good at it. I was first flute and I was in the like city youth orchestra and we went to Vienna and like won awards in like international competitions. I was like, and then I got to college and I was like, I don't like practicing. So I just let it all go.
That's a mood.
Yeah, I was just like, well.
Yeah, I was in like competitive choir too, but like I don't sing anymore, guys. Don't even ask me to. It won't happen. I feel you.
Yeah.
F indeed. But yeah, I just want to thank you again for joining us here today, for taking some time on Sunday off to hang out with me. It's been a long time since we chit-chatted.
I see another question. It's a very important question. Yes, my fave kind of moss and my fave kind of badger.
Shit! Sorry, I missed that. I thought that was a statement that like this was her favorite kind of moss, and you know what? But I like the question format better. Please go.
So I feel like I should know more about like, scientific names of moss. Because like honestly, just the generic like grows in the cracks between the sidewalk fuzzy moss is my favorite kind of moss. And my favorite kind of badger is the European badger. Because see, people say badger and they think of like honey badger, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. European badger, because it's not like, I like how this is just sitting here ready for me to grab. It's it's the European badger because it's the badger from Wind in the Willows.
Yeah, I mean, I think in like the hierarchy of like cute, cuddly badger situation, it definitely goes like European badger, and American badger looks like his really scruffy, drunk cousin.
Yeah, and American badgers are like the Florida man of badgers.
Yeah, and then the honey badger is just like some sort of feral beast.
Well, yeah, I mean, European badgers are also kind of feral beasts, but they're like grumpy old men.
Yeah.
Like the badger is based on the Wind in the Willows badger and the Redwall badgers, who are like brave warriors.
Are you excited about the Redwall series?
Yes.
Yes, me too.
Yes. Because there was a cartoon of it, but like I feel like nobody watched it.
I didn't.
Like PBS back in the day.
So
yeah, I mean I read them, but I read them as like an adult.
So I read them as like a high school, like college student. They were still being produced, right? Like
yeah. He only died like a few years ago, I think.
Yeah. I was like, I definitely listen. When I get into like a book series, I will read everything that author has ever made, ever. I don't care how bad it is. Like I will read it.
Anything with little animals that are, wearing clothes and living little lives in little houses.
It's cute.
That's what I want. So it's like it's the Wind in the Willows is like. It's like Frog and Toad are friends. They're probably little gay animals, and they're living their little gay lives in their little houses with their little, with their little glasses and their ascots and their vests. That's what I want. I want like it's like there's that joke like I wish my biggest concern was like when the neighbor, the goose next door, puts on her bonnet and comes over to tea. Like that's my ideal like world.
Honestly, same. Were these characters kind of the inspiration for your Mossbadger?
Yes, that's why it's called Mossbadger.
And
yes, I would grab them, but they're across the thing. Yeah,
I feel like Pauline would know that, and just wanted to ask you anyway.
They're those little flocked, because
they're cute. I remember having a few of those as a kid.
Also, like weird stuff I always have in like arm's reach. They're like I can see them. They're like little flocked animals. They're jointed. They're also known as Sylvanian families.
They were cute.
They are cute.
Now I'm
And
just thinking about like
every
all.
day is a struggle not to start collecting them actively. Like I have some, but I am not trying to buy more.
Do you
But
remember
they're
that
always
time?
there.
Do you remember that time where I saw that stupid ad at like for what was it? It was like for Goodwill or something, and it was like this
Oh
lady with
yeah, where is that?
the Priss pot, and I was like Priss, by the way. I don't say piss. Priss the cat.
That was up there, but I think I
And
moved her
there was
because
this
she wasn't
ad.
Halloween themed.
I really want to find this ad. There was this ad for this like this woman who was like thinking about buying this cat shaped like
Teapot.
teapot, and I was like, "Is this Jordana? Like, is
Yeah.
this Jordana?"
And then she sends it to me, and of course, 30 seconds later, I'm on eBay, like, what is this thing? I must own it. And like, I did eventually find it's like an egg cup. Because
Yeah, it's a whole series of
but they're
collectibles.
super expensive.
It is. But yeah, like I was like, man, if I ever see any of this stuff in the flea market, I'm gonna.
Yeah, I have an egg cup, one single little egg cup, because it was like $15, and I was like, that is an appropriate amount of money for me to spend on a useless ceramic cat head.
Yeah, they're so cute, but I was like, man, this is the most Jordana like ad situation.
You see my tendencies,
I
right?
know.
I will collect all of the things.
Oh my god, it's true. Especially like that kind of kitschy, like mid-century ephemeral, like ephemeralia, whatever kind of vibe. It's definitely you.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up, guys. I just again want to thank our lovely guests today for joining us. The next one of these is going to be Paulina from BAK BAK Designs. I'm very excited and looking forward to that too. I don't know. It might be me, but it might be Jessica back to do the interview. Who knows? I don't know yet. It is early days. I don't remember the date. So somebody in the chat throw the date down because I don't remember. It's been really wonderful spending some time with you today. I've missed again interacting with my peers. I think it's a lot of fun to sit down and kind of again reminisce about our goofy moments together. And it's been great having you here.
Thank you. This has been fun.
It's been a lot of fun. We should definitely do that one panel though. Maybe for our thing, we'll do that. That'll be fun. Sunday, March 14th at 12 p.m. Pacific. Thank you. I like how not even like neither somebody like who might give the interview, like take the interview, or the person giving the interview, Paulina, knew the date. We are so on top of it today. It's Sunday, guys. When you're done with this, go out and have a good afternoon and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes, eat some pancakes. Watch some terrible television.
Maybe do a little sewing if you need to.
The Muppet Show is available on Disney Plus.
With warnings, apparently.
It was a different time. Some of that stuff did not age well.
No, but you know what? I think I'm okay with it. I'm okay with the warnings.
Yeah, I'm fine with the warnings.
Yeah.
As long as I get to see Miss Piggy, you can put whatever warning you need.
All right. Thank you again, and I guess we're going to sign off. So bye, everyone. Thank you so much for having us.